why you see a deterioration of the infrastructure of our inner city community. Because we have been presented with a false gospel, a false hope. We have leadership on the political level. We have leadership on the community level. And we have leadership in the religious level that have sold us a false gospel. And all gospel mean is good news. They have sold us a false gospel. And they have cut deals for their own political and social and economic interests with no concerns about our community, no concerns about our future. They have not. They have not shown a concern about a future generation. We got sons and daughters that are coming behind this generation. And they have to have jobs to look forward to. They have to have social and economic resources available to them. We have to make demands for better educational institutions and better funding for education in our inner city communities. We have to create after-school programs in our communities because we're losing our youth to drugs, to gangs, to jails, and we're losing them to the grave at unproportionate rates than any other race of people on the face of the earth. We have to understand the power that we have as a people to change the social and economic conditions of our community. When you turn over $800 billion in wealth as a people, we can't look at society and say what the white man is doing to us. When you turn over $300 billion in wealth as a black church, we have to see the fruits of those dollars divested back into our communities. We have to see the fruits of those dollars in after-school programs, in drug rehab centers. We have to have a greater outreach for humanity within our community because we're watching the destruction of the infrastructure of our community. And if we learn to pool our dollars together and we get behind people with visions, a new generation of people with a Joshua mind for getting things done, we can move our community. We're talking about hiring more police officers on the streets of Chicago, 200-300 more police officers. We don't need no more police officers on the streets of Chicago. If I was mayor, if I was chief executive officer of the city, and don't worry about it, I'm not running for mayor of the city of Chicago, though I need to be. I'm running for alderman in the 34th Ward, where Kerry Austin is alderman. And on February 22nd, 2011 will be election day. You make sure you tell your family. You make sure you tell your friends. You make sure you tell your neighbors to come out and vote for me, the coach, for alderman in 34th Ward on February 22nd. And in addition to that, I want to come out to your block clubs. You know, I was out there getting signatures. I was out there getting petitions. Some of y'all, a lot of y'all, coach, we know y'all. I don't know you, but invite me out. Invite me to your block club. Invite me to your community meetings. You get to know me. What better way? Invite me. But we don't need no more police officers on the street. What we need to do is take those salaries that we're going to invest in 200-300 more police officers, and we need to invest them into after-school programs in the schools, in the park district, and we need to give our kids something to do to keep them off the streets and out of trouble. We need to start at first, second, third grade. We don't need to start when they 15, 16, 17 years old talking about we got to stop these gangs. No, you preachers marching down the street, we're going to take our community back. Down with dope, up with hope. And we got Master Richie. We got the superintendent of police and all them marching through the neighborhood with community leaders looking like a clown and a circus. We don't need that. All we need to do is put viable youth and after-school programs in our community. And those churches that operate in the black communities that take in $300 billion a year, $50 billion a Sunday, need to start investing into youth and after-school programs within those communities that they operate in. 300 churches in the 34th and 9th Ward combined. Over 300 churches between Cottage Grove and I-57 from 99th to 127. You got under 300 churches in a 6-mile radius. That's a doggone shame. I guess he's everywhere. Holy, holy, holy is the Lord God of hosts. His earth is full of his glory. I guess he's everywhere. But we don't need more police officers. We need after-school programs. You know, and to show you how they play games with our minds, and we got to be educated to the games they play. They have a requirement on the police force that says you have to be, I believe it's 21, and you have to have 2 years of college to apply for the police department. You know, Ed Burke them changed that law to eliminate blacks from being able to get on the police force, when really all you need is a high school diploma, because the training that you have to do once you get on the force is in-house anyway. But now Jody Weiss gets on there and said, we're changing the criteria. We're going to hire some more people. But they got to be, I want an older police officer for older police force. They have to be 25 to get on the force with 60 credit hours of schooling. But if you have a military background, they'll waive that 25 and you'll get preference on getting on the force. Now, if they was really concerned about the diversity of the police department, you could take that same preference and say that we're going to make sure blacks and minority make up a minimum of 50% of this next hiring class. So if you go hire 200 police officers, we're going to make sure 100 of them are black and 100 of them are white and Hispanic. But then we'll be hollering, that's illegal, we can't do that, we can't do that. But yet you can give those preference to those with military backgrounds. See, this is the game they play. But what we have to do is we have to make demands that the hiring become more fair and equal, because I'll tell you how they actually hire later on. That's another show. And, you know, in this state, we get less than 0.5% of state contracts, $60 billion budget now, the state, $60+ billion budget. And blacks get less than 0.5%. And Pat Quinn, governor, by the time this show aired, he may not be governor, but right now, anyway, governor. He was on WON giving his little political spiel with no respect for our community, which none of them do. And I asked him about the fact that blacks get less than 0.5% of the contracts, state contracts. And he, given his political statement, you know, you have to be politically correct these days, said that he put a person in charge to make sure that blacks get in procurement, that we get representation. David Miller was on VON one time, and he made the statement that, you know, they're working with banks and the procurement office so that you can bid on these contracts and the banks will get the money first and get their part out, blah, blah, blah. The fact of the matter is the way you're going to have more minorities participating in these state contracts is you have to lower the bonding requirement by state statute. You have to change the law, and you have to change the law where they bundle all these contracts together, and instead of you being able to bid on $1 million, $500,000, you got to bid on a $50, $100 million contract at one time, which most blacks don't meet the requirements for that. So they play games. All you have to do is change the laws of the way these contracts are administered, and you get more minorities. But see, what happened is they play games with our minds. And We have to understand what's happening around us, people, and we have to become more educated. And the problem I have is when we talk about a new mayor, black leadership, they know all these things. Our leadership know these things. Jesse Jackson Jr. know these things. Jesse Jackson Sr. know these things. Meeks know these things. All these preachers and leaders and community people that want to be in the forefront, they know these things, but you won't hear them speaking out on it. These preachers know these things, but they got little government-supported subsidies, or they daycare centers, and they got turkeys coming to their church at Thanksgiving from these leaders, and they host their little dinners, and these political leaders give them $1,500 donation for their things, and they silence. They paid off. Our community needs a lot of help, and the coach is just one voice in the wilderness crying.